According to reports, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins Hendrickson, they're all going to get inked really, really quickly. At least Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, according to the Bengals director of personnel. And other executives have talked about this. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, especially Jamar Chase, that money's coming and it's gonna come fast. I know we've been worried about them dragging this whole thing out in the offseason, but Bengals executive Duke Tobin said that Jamar Chase will be the number one highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. They're very eager to ink him. They're very eager to get T. Higgins signed, so I do expect both of them to be on roster, like we've said pretty much the entire offseason. More news to come. We've got more. I mean, God, we got so much news. I'm going to say there's like 30 pieces of news we got to go over, from Fields to Aaron Rodgers wanting to potentially play for the Rams, and if he does, he wants Davante Adams with him. We've got other news regarding a rumor that Gronkowski wanted to return to football, but that's since been squashed, I believe, by Schefter or Rappaport, one of the two. We'll go over all that and more. The Fantasy Football Show begins right now. File on
Studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
So lots to go over. We've got this Jamar Chase news. Going to get paid. It's going to happen quickly. T. Higgins probably going to follow Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase will get inked first, but that will set the tone for the T. Higgins deal. So expect both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to be signed within the next month, roughly a month and a half, I would say. But I think it'll happen very, very quickly. It's just this organization's really excited to get Jamar Chase inked, and Joe Burrow is commanding that T. Higgins also be a part of this, and Bengals director of personnel Duke Tobin again said he's optimistic about T. Higgins returning. So I've been telling you all offseason, these two will be playing as Bengal wide receivers together in 2025. Don't even think twice about it at this moment in time. Davante Adams is still on the team right now, quote unquote, according to Jets GM, talking about this guy, whether he's going to be on the roster, whether they're going to trade him, whether they're going to cut him. And then this news, Aaron Rodgers reportedly wants to play for the Los Angeles Rams if they move on from Matthew Stafford. This is interesting. And he also would love to bring Davante Adams with him. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers would mention this if he hadn't already had conversations with Davante Adams. So it sounds like what we've been kind of predicting all offseason, that they'll be together wherever they go. If they go to Pittsburgh, they'll be together. If they go to the Rams, they'll be together. But this Rams-Matthew Stafford situation is a little bit more of a risk than I think people are willing to admit or that they understand. Matthew Stafford, according to The Athletic, is talking about Stafford this offseason being traded. The Giants acquiring him specifically is firmly on the table. The Giants have had a lot of interest. They've been linked to Matthew Stafford quite a bit in the offseason. For right or wrong, how many years does he have left? I don't know. Do we want Nabers to really get used to Matthew Stafford, and then after about a year and a half, Stafford drops off, retires, gets hurt, retires after that, gets hurt, doesn't come back and for a year, and then he's never the same? I don't know. At this moment in time, I almost don't care about that. Nabers is situation proof, and if he can get Matthew Stafford to laser lock on him in 2025, he's going to Jupiter. He'll be the biggest. He's already my quiet dark horse wide receiver one. It's on the bold prediction board. These are my 3 bold predictions. Anybody drops a $50 holler, you can only go against these, like JSN to bust or Genty's bust. These 3 are the only ones off the table. Nabers wide receiver 1, JSN top 4 wide receiver, Genty top 5 running back in 2025. But I mean, getting peppered by Matthew Stafford, Nabers would go to the moon. If Matthew Stafford does not go to the Giants and pepper this kid, Malik Nabers, he's still a top 2, 3, 4 overall wide receiver, top 5, 6 overall player in 2025. Of that, I have no doubt. But this is looking more and more likely that a move is being considered, strongly considered. And why, you might ask, if you've been living under a rock? Look, I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to money, and it's something where this team needs to kind of, as McVay said in an interview about it, just I think today or yesterday, he said essentially, they have to look out for the future of the team. They have to look out for what is potentially going to be good for the long term of the organization. And they did, and for anybody that says, oh, Stafford, he's going to have to play on this contract, they're not going to cater to trading him. Not true, because they renegotiated his contract, and they've taken a year-to-year approach very openly. And even McVay said yesterday or today, whenever he did the interview, that it is a year-to-year thing that they've potentially set up for Stafford. So in good faith, the Rams do want to make him happy, and if he wants to go make $50 million a year, and don't think for a second there isn't one team like the Giants that would pay him $50 for 2 years, $50 a year for 2 years, have an out in the contract similar to Kirk Cousins, where it's really a $100 million guaranteed deal of 2 years. He certainly could get $50 million a year. If anybody thinks he's not getting $50 million a year if he does go elsewhere, you're living in fairy tale land that is a few years ago. The quarterback number is 50. Brock Purdy's going to try and get 55, 60. It's just one of those things where, it is about money. It is about almost like in a sense, a handshake deal that will get you either right-sized again year to year, or if you want a long-term deal, or if you want something different, we'll try and make that happen for you. Not saying the Rams would trade him to anybody, but I think the Rams are very open-minded to a trade at this point, because this man wants a long-term deal, a very nice, lucrative contract for about 2 or 3 more years. And the Rams have been taking the year-to-year approach, which Stafford was also taking the year-to-year approach. So, anyway. And as for Nabers, for those that don't know, Mrs. Robeson, who is the author of and the Get Bijan video, a staple on this channel, blessed us with a Nabers take and video drop, and I give you the Malik Nabers video drop number 1 of the year.
Won't you be my neighbor?
Neighbor.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Won't you be my neighbor?
Neighbor.
Okay, ready? Neighbor.
Else notices that the Bruces, they're not messing around when it comes to eggs. You can see in the top right corner, they've been scooping up all the eggs they can get, which honestly tells me something, because if the Bruces say something is so, it is so. And Miss Robeson doesn't miss. I do have an exciting announcement as well. I have the first Malik Nabers video drop from me. This one's a doozy. This one's a beauty. It's a cinematic performance like no other you've seen. And it has more to come as his situation unravels. So if everybody could drop a Neighbors emoji right now as an encore, as a drum roll for the first ever video drop of Neighbors that isn't Miss Robeson dropping straight fire. Drop a Neighbors emoji as I speak to you right now. Here you go.
In a distant galaxy far away, a planet called Neighboron had an extinction-level event which caused utter collapse. One pod escaped containing a young boy, the last of his kind, drifting off course after an asteroid shower encounter. The pod found its way into Earth's orbit and crash-landed on a small farm. On this farm, the young boy lived a normal and hidden life, until his powers became evident and his mission and purpose became clear. His name was to be Neighbors after his home planet. He would comb the earth looking to save all that needed his help. At first, Neighbors was keeping up with all who needed his help, but he couldn't do it alone. He needed a sidekick to truly become invincible and turn into a supernova.
And with the 3rd overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select
I give you probably supernova number 1. He will turn into a supernova, and his story is still to be told. The part 2 will come as soon as we know who's throwing him the damn ball in 2025. As for Aaron Rodgers, do I think there's a chance he plays as a Pittsburgh Steeler still? I do think there's a chance, but it does sound like the Rams are inching closer to being his desired landing spot. But if the Rams don't want it, if they want Jimmy Garoppolo, which we've talked about, is there a dumb enough organization in the league that would think that this kid could be, Jimmy's an old man now, this old man could be their starting quarterback? Apparently, the Rams are considering it. According to Diana Rossini, the Rams are comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo as their starting quarterback in 2025. I think this is more posturing. I don't think for a second that McVay is going to roll with Jimmy G as the starting quarterback. I think this is more of trying to say, hey, Stafford's available. Come and knock and let's see what's up. But this would be an absolute disaster. This would be, as I've said for a lot of weeks now, start preparing for Puka Nacua to maybe have a world where he's not as valuable as people wanted him to have. The value that they wanted him to have and hold. There's a chance that the Rams really screw this up. And if you take Stafford away alone, and you still even fill that spot with Aaron Rodgers, Nacua takes a tumble in terms of likelihood of producing what people have expected him to produce. I've been very, very shy away stance from Puka Nacua lately, just because of all the unknowns right now. If Stafford returns, great. Dynasty, not super intrigued about that situation. Who's throwing the ball to Puka Nacua in the future? The only way I'd be very overly optimistic is if they got their hands on the number 3 or 2 or 1 overall pick and they ended up taking Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, But I think that Puka Nacua is being grossly overvalued in that 4, 5, 6 overall range when you've got a lot of ambiguity, some of which would be the worst possible situation to unfold in Jimmy Garoppolo, or even if there's Aaron Rodgers and Devontae comes over. I mean, what are we looking at there? Is Rodgers going to really gunsling? Is he going to laser lock on Puka? Will it change the relationship change between the amount of targets in football as Puka sees with Aaron Rodgers than with Stafford? Of course it will. So, I'm very concerned about Puka Nacua's value right now. Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy Garoppolo, Devontae Adams. I'm telling you, we got so much news. We're still barely cracking into it. There's so much going on today. Some of it is good. Some of it's bad. Some of it's, here's a beautiful piece of news here. Jaguars coach Liam Cohen said the team's offense would run through Brian Thomas Jr. Oh, man. I mean, hide your moms.
He's BTJ. What you gonna do? He's BTJ. He's gonna put it on you. He's BTJ. Gonna have a good game. He's BTJ. Your mama screams his name. BTJ is going to put it on you. There's not a single thing that you can do. BTJ is going to put it on you. There's not a single thing that you can do.
So BTJ, we already knew this. And by the way, let me get this out of the way here. BBQ, thank you for dropping that $2 holler that you dropped yesterday. I didn't read it off. BBQ, if you're there, I appreciate you. So thank you. I want to make sure you knew that I saw it, and I'm sorry if I let that one slide. I'll try not to let another super chat ever slide again. BTJ going to have a remarkable season. What list is he on?
The Saturn Men.
One smokes.
He's on a shuttle to Mars.
There he
Mars
is.
Men.
There he is. Laporta's on the Mars Men, Scattaboo, Brees Hall and
Boats
Kyron.
dropping and spinning aimlessly in space.
May move Brees Hall, Kyron up to the Saturn board. I'm not sure. BT just unreal season loading. Just an unreal season is loading for this kid. Just absolute glory is loading. This is the opposite of glory. This looks like maybe someone fumbled the bag. This report here, this is a Denver Broncos kind of beat reporter. He's been, doing this about as long as I have, to be honest. I like him. He's a good guy, but sometimes he says things that are Bronco related that are very, very unverified. But Ian Rappaport says, nope, nonsense. Cecil said that Rob Gronkowski is trained to return to the NFL. Where is he headed? Check the video. He in the video says that he's got a relationship with the Broncos and Sean Payton, and that he thinks that Gronk is coming back to the Broncos. Now, I'm not saying he's wrong, but when Rappaport's saying, nope, nonsense, you got to take note that this might be him jumping the gun, and he does jump the gun on Denver Broncos stuff because he's a Bronco beat writer or whatever. He's a Bronco writer, or I don't know. So don't really put much weight into that yet. Could he potentially return? Sure, maybe. It looks like who jumped the gun as well. All the reports and we just report on the reports. So I'm not responsible for somebody. Somebody messaged me in a DM on Instagram, said, "Are you going to apologize for saying that Trump and the team wasn't going to go to the White House?" And I said, "No, I'm absolutely not going to apologize. Why would I apologize for reporting on what was reported by pretty much everybody known to man?" The news that the Eagles said no, and there's an overwhelming no vote across the team that they're not going to the White House. That still could be the case, but a report today suggesting that the Eagles haven't even got the invite yet. Trump was at his Resolute desk doing some orders, and somebody asked him about the question, and he said, "You know what? Let's get that invite out now." And he leaned over, told one of his people, he said, "Get it done now." So she's going to reach out, whatever assistant he had working on this, and get the invite out, and then we'll see. Maybe they go, maybe they don't. They haven't been invited yet. The news yesterday was, or the day before, was a little bit premature, but what can you do? You know, it's not my fault. The guy literally wanted me to apologize for reporting on a report. I don't play that game. I don't play that game. You hear me? You hear me, son? Take a lap. Take a lap right now. Smoke season even around that. Stafford, as we mentioned, firmly on the table. Stafford trade firmly on the table. This is retirement news at the tight end position that's different than the Gronk one. Looks like Kelsey, as predicted here on this channel, will return for another year. There was just no way he was walking away, Travis Kelsey, with that bad year that he dropped. There's just no way. So Kelsey, we knew he'd return, and I even said if he retired, like right now, don't buy into it. He'll unretire in August or July, and it looks like it won't need to come to that, but he will definitely looks like he'll definitely be playing football. I don't know to what capacity. He's going like in the 10th, 11th round. So, you know, we'll see what's what. I think that's good value. If you're getting Travis Kelsey in round 11, 12, 10, it's worth the risk. I just don't know if he's going to be have a shot at a top 5 tight end season. He could though. Geno Smith, this thing makes me want to kind of vomit. And JSN being being as big as I am on JSN, you know, I wish that he had a better quarterback. I do wish JSN had a monster. I wish Fields would head on over to the Seattle Seahawks and play some football there. But Geno still throws the ball relatively well to JSN. I just don't know why you would extend him. If you want to roll with him and another option, go trade for Joe Milton, damn it. You know, but it looks like the Seahawks and the GM, John Schneider, said that the team will meet with Geno Smith's agent this week about extension talks. And it's just like, why would you? It's almost like extending Tua. It doesn't make any sense. And on the Tua front, Tyreek Hill, reportedly, according to Miami Mike McDaniel, he had his wrist surgery already. So Tyreek Hill going in the 2-3 turn, sometimes middle of round 2, seems like a pretty good value as long as you don't put all your eggs in one basket and overdraft him in league upon league. But in redraft non-best ball, I don't like drafting him. I like drafting a more secure player like Bucky or Josh Allen even, or JD5, or especially in that third round. I like Kyren. I like Breece Hall more than I like drafting, you know, a player that I feel like, you know, can't necessarily guarantee, like Tyreek Hill, guarantee me what I want. So in best ball, I'm more than okay taking gambles and shots on Tyreek Hill in the late second, even mid second sometimes, but a very small amount of leagues, like 5-10% ownership of Tyreek Hill in your best ball leagues. That's it. And if you want to play best ball and draft a 2025 season right now, and draft Tyreek Hill, draft Bucky while he's in the 2-3 turn, draft this unbelievable ADP value that Breece Hall has in the middle of the third round, or Kyren in the middle to late third round. Hit code Smitty or this link I just dropped in the live chat and do a best ball draft. We'll probably draft. I don't know if I'll be back tonight. We got another bout of illnesses in the house. These kids bring home, I have a 4-year-old and a 13-year-old. They bring home the plague pretty much every week. And so we're going to have a little chaos here tonight. Okay, there's vomiting, there's all kinds of craziness going on. So I don't know if I'll be back. I'm going to try to be back for a draft, but I want to preface that I could potentially not be back for a draft tonight, but I will try my best. This is the Titans GM is very much hinting toward Travis Hunter being in very much their consideration for the 1.1. special player, and I love that people don't think he's going to play wide receiver. It's wild to me. I'm not saying I know exactly the divide, but the fact that people think he's just going to be a cornerback, they make comments in like, "Oh, he's a good decision by him to only play cornerback." He literally didn't make him a decision. People are wild. Like, it is a pro day. He probably, if he was not a DB at all, he probably would not go to the combine, but just for interviews. So him not being listed as a wide receiver at the combine, he wouldn't have gone to participate anyway because he's a top wide receiver. And the top guys don't even participate anymore. Broncos GM talking about Bo Nix and the off-season surgery that he had. Procedure. They didn't clarify. They didn't give us any details. Normally when there's a procedure and it went well, everything was good, it's usually a knee scope of some kind to clean up some sort of cartilage issue or some floating bodies in the knee that kind of catch. So probably was, I can't guarantee it, but probably was some sort of knee scope or knee procedure. But procedure is different than like a surgery. Like procedure, you walk out, you know. Matthew Stafford, reports the Steelers have not talked to Matthew Stafford yet. That would be interesting if they did. Hollywood Brown looks like Chiefs GM Brett Veach wants to bring back Hollywood. I think it would be interesting to see how he would do with a healthy offseason, but he definitely didn't step up and do much. Anthony Richardson, the Colts have an open mind type approach to bringing in another quarterback to compete with Anthony Richardson. It definitely would be healthy to bring in like a non-factor type of, guy. But as we talked about, it's almost reckless to go after a big name. Like bring in Aaron Rodgers, he wouldn't come. He wouldn't land on this roster if he wasn't handed the starting lineup keys to the lineup. Stafford's not going to Indy unless he's handed the keys to the starting lineup. AR5 being on the roster eliminates any chance that they bring in a big name quarterback, because no quarterback's going to go there with Anthony Richardson sitting behind them. Not that they're that scared of him, but the concept of this draft capital QB with a lot of upside that's messed up being behind you, if you struggle at all, then everyone's calling for your head. So this is more of like I don't want to say a bluff, or a posture for maybe an Anthony Richardson trade, but they'll bring in somebody, but it's going to be like Jimmy Garoppolo level, that he's going to easily be able to beat out. And if they bring in somebody, remotely decent, they should just trade him, or they should trade him and then bring that player in. Travis Kelce will return and play for another year. I've got that piece of news on here twice. Told you we had a lot of news. Khalil Shakir signing a $60 million deal, $32 million guaranteed, $18 million to be paid in the first 12 months. The deal ties him to Buffalo through 2029. Look, he's a good receiver, but this is a lot of money. It's kind of a frustrating, I think, thing to unfold, because you want him to bring in some bigger name player. Maybe they still do, but this is wild. The Buffalo Bills are very strange how they build their team. I almost feel like it's going to be hard for this team to win a Super Bowl if they refuse to go down the road of bringing in big names. If they continue to try and play cheapskate, Kansas City Chief, type of potential free agency acquisition, they're not as good as the Chiefs at that. They brought in Amari Cooper and he did nothing. Chiefs are very good. Look at Rashee Rice and look at Worthy, and look how they built this team up without going and trading for a big name wide receiver. Coleman, I like Coleman, but they don't seem to want to use Coleman properly, and maybe that changes. Maybe he develops. We've always liked Coleman, so we're going to be rooting for him. But this is wild. This is a lot of money to give this kid. And I keep calling everybody kid today. I don't know why, but it's wild to give Shakir this amount of money. And I know he's good, and there's a lot of Shakir fans out there, so this will only fuel the almost oversaturation, the early ADP snagging of this guy. I understand he's good. He's going to be a big hype player now. This is going to probably move him out of any sort of territory where I'm drafting him, because I'm already a little bit of a second guesser of Shakir being as good as everybody wants him to be. It kind of reminds me of how Waddle's been playing to a smaller degree. It reminds me of Deontay Johnson. I like him a lot. There's talent there, but to pay him $60 million, it's wild. $30 million guaranteed. Kirk Cousins will remain as the team's backup to back up Michael Penix Jr. That could change. It could be posturing for a trade. Keep in mind, Kirk Cousins has a no trade clause, so he's got to approve anything anyway. But remember what I said, Kirk Cousins not picking up the phone? So he's playing games with the Falcons and saying, cut me. I'm not going to pick up the phone. I won't answer the calls about the no trade clause. I'm just going to go dormant for a while. You guys screwed me. I'm going to screw you. And so instead of the Falcons just saying, oh, we'll release you then, and Kirk gets his guaranteed money, gets a new contract, the Falcons said, no, you're just going to be a backup then. At least that's the stance right now. And I think it's probably the right move for right now. But we'll see. We'll see if a team comes to calling. Shedeur Sanders, according to the Titans GM, they have no concerns about his arm strength. A lot of people are very critical about Shedeur. I like Shedeur a lot, but I do think he needs to go to a good environment, and Tennessee would not be that environment. Cam Ward would survive better in Tennessee than Shedeur. Cam Ward in Tennessee wouldn't be as good, in my opinion, as Shedeur in New York with Dable and Nabers. So landing spot is king, and as much as I love Cam Ward more than Shedeur right now, Shedeur could easily be my number one ranked quarterback if the landing spots dictate. Titans coach Brian Callahan said that the team would add a running back in 2025. Spears is a nice player. This could lower his value to the point where you're adding him as the very last bench running back. And in some cases, you don't even know if you want him as your last bench running back. In best ball, you might be carrying 5 RBs alone. And I don't know that Spears is as good as other options. Like, let me give you an example. Like, I'm not saying Sean Tucker is safe, but I like Sean Tucker quietly, like, as much as I like Spears. I like Spears a lot, but they clearly don't know what they have in him or how much they want to invest in him. Remember, he's also missing an ACL in one of his knees, and that over time will become a problem. So just so you know. This news here from out of Pittsburgh, Jaylen Warren will have the tender slapped upon him, and he will not be going anywhere. Good news for the Steelers. He's a good player. Tender slapped on him, and Najee Harris has not been ruled out as coming back as a co-counterpart of this rushing attack. But if he does leave, then Jaylen Warren's got a nice little open door. But will they draft somebody very quickly could fill Najee's spot with somebody that's even more dangerous. So tough to say what Warren's value will be. We liked him a lot last year, but there's concerns. Chargers general manager spoke about Joey Bosa and wants to remain. Says that Bosa wants to remain with the team and retire a Charger. I know there's a lot of talk about Bosa getting traded to the Niners. Niners fans want Bosa on the team. It's not going to happen. Joey Bosa wants to be a Charger. The Chargers want Joey Bosa, so that should get worked out. Justin Fields, Steelers general manager, speaking. Omar Khan's a con man, they say, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean he's great at dealing. He's great. He just absolutely cons his way into the best situation. He's a really good GM. Said he would like to re-sign one of Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. This is really important information we didn't seem to have days ago when it felt like both quarterbacks were going elsewhere, especially Russell Wilson. But the fact they keep talking about Russell Wilson now, maybe Russell Wilson comes around. I hope Russell Wilson gets signed by the Pittsburgh Steelers over Justin Fields. I want Justin Fields in New York. I want Justin Fields in Seattle if that doesn't work out with Geno, which I hope it doesn't. I want Justin Fields in Las Vegas. I want him in a better location than Pittsburgh anyway. So I hope that the player that lands in Pittsburgh is Russell Wilson. That is all of the news. Phone lines are open, and I give you the Neighbors drop one more time.
A planet called Neighboron had, in a distant galaxy far away, a planet called Neighboron had an extinction-level event which caused utter collapse. One pod escaped containing a young boy, the last of his kind, drifting off course after an asteroid shower encounter. The pod found its way into Earth's orbit and crash-landed on a small farm. On this farm, the young boy lived a normal and hidden life, until his powers became evident and his mission and purpose became clear. His name was to be Neighbors after his home planet. He would comb the earth looking to save all that needed his help. At first, Neighbors was keeping up with all who needed his help, but he couldn't do it alone. He needed a sidekick to truly become invincible and turn into a supernova.
And with the 3rd overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select.
There you go. There you have it. We're going to take some phone calls. I don't know how long we'll even be here tonight. Let's see how the phone calls go. Phone lines are open. Dial in, dial in, dial in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
we got like the plague again. 2 different plagues in the house right now. We have one that's vomiting. The other one is fever. Well, one's fever and coughing and chills and everything. And the other one's vomiting. And they're like not even the 2 same illnesses. I stand 0 chance at not getting really annihilated by one of them. So hang tight on that. That's why I probably won't be live tonight. As there's a lot going on here in Casa de Smitty, but I will try my best to get on here and do a draft. But we'll see. I just don't want to promise anything. But there's no way I can avoid both these plagues that are sitting in my house. I get it all the time. I every month there's some sort of virus or flu or something that comes through here, and we get sick constantly in this house. And it's not that my immune system's all that bad. It's just I'm exposed to it directly. Like I facing it. I'm always getting it last, so I don't go out there and get it. I don't go out there and collect it. I don't even leave the studio much, and that's part of the problem, right? My immune system's down a little bit because I'm always working from home. I'm not exposed to a lot of germs like the average person in a workplace. But I don't really get it right away. Sometimes I escape it. So my immune system's actually kind of decent. But when you're facing a different flu or cold or the pandemic like every other month, like your body has no shot. And so here I am looking at this, and damn it, I'm going to get it again. I know it. We have a purification thing that in the kids' room that shoots off the mist or whatever. But all right. Hit me up, dial in, suck it up, Smitty. Suck it up, Smitty, man up. What's it look like I'm doing, Greg? Greg, what's it look like I'm doing?
Take a big laugh.
All right, dial in. Phone lines are open. Do it live. Appreciate you all. Any super chats will get immediate attention. We had a lot of news to go over today. A lot of news. The most important probably being this Ja'Marr Chase news. You know, Ja'Marr Chase, the director of personnel in Cincinnati, saying that it's going to get done. It's going to get done fast. Like, they don't want to drag it out. He said, I want to get this done earlier than later. We're going to get it done. He's going to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the National Football League. When a team or organization or a director of personnel says that, you know they're inching closer to a deal. It's going to get done. Go ahead, John. You're live.
I was just going to tell Travis, I don't know if you're talking about the same Khan, but Shahid Khan, he owns the soccer stadium over in Europe. That's why they always play over there, because he's getting a good deal. And I don't know if he was mentioning that as to why, he wants an NFL team over there. But I want to get your thoughts on Ted McMillan. I'm starting to not like this dude. I know he's put up like 1,000-yard seasons, but he's not putting up like 15 TDs, 1,500 yards like Tyler Lockett did at some random lesser tier school. They didn't really play anybody. He put up like 300 yards against New Mexico State. I understand some of the other wide receivers on the team didn't really do that much, but when I look at him, I don't see him creating all that much separation. And usually these guys that are scoring a lot of yards and whatnot, some TDs at lesser tier schools, they get to the league and it drops by like 20, 30%. So I'm not really sold on him. I wanted your thoughts on him and whether or not you actually think that Travis Hunter and Emeka Egbuka could leapfrog him if given the right situation.
Well, I made it no secret, and what is it on? Is it on the Moon Man list? Let me see.
The Moon Men dropping
Egbuka.
loads in outer space.
So Egbuka is on the Moon Man list. So clearly, I love Egbuka, and I've said this before.
Space Monsters.
And when did we add him? Travis, do you remember the date that I added him? I think it was, I want to say it was, I'm just going to put a date down here for now. I don't know what the actual date is, but I'll just put a placeholder. I want to say like February 10 or something. So I'll just put that for right now. But so I love Egbuka. I think he easily could be, as I said, the player that becomes the BT of this wide receiver class, meaning that no one wants to rank him with the big two. But then at the end of it all, there's some people that are saying BT's the best wide receiver out of the class last year, like even over Nabers. I don't think that, but I think BT's right there. He's fantastic. He's CeeDee Lamb and Nabers is Ja'Marr Chase. So it's like you're almost splitting hairs, but there's a little bit of a difference. Egbuka could be the BT. He really could. Travis Hunter could be phenomenal if they give him the mother freaking ball on the offensive side, and we don't know what that looks like. People that say that they know what it looks like, they don't. They're running their mouth. They have no clue. He very much has made it apparent that he wants to play both sides of the ball, and not at a a staggering 20% offense. He probably wants to play offense 80, 90, 100% of the time. But we'll see what happens. But as for Ted McMillan, I like Ted McMillan a lot. We did a show on him the other day. He's a good player. He's a really good player. I think you're underestimating him a little bit. And I think that, is there a shot that he goes to the wrong environment and doesn't play the kind of football that, that we expect him to play in general right now, just because he's the top wide receiver prospect? It's possible. Here's his numbers from 2024, 2023, and 2022. He had 10 touchdowns in 2023. He had 8 touchdowns in 2024. He had 13-19 receiving and 14-02 in those 2 seasons. I don't really know what you expect him to do when you're saying that he doesn't look like a guy that could, excel at the next level or whatever, or he's going to have a big drop off. Like, he was a good player. He's 6 foot. If you could mute yourself, 330 caller, if you could mute yourself real quick, I appreciate it. You got some background noise. He's 6'5", 212 pounds, Ted McMillan. Hey, 330, can you mute? Or is that John's background noise? I don't know, maybe it's John.
No, it's not mine. I was keeping mine on mute.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, 330. Let me put up Ted McMillan's game log. Like, I get that there are some ways to be critical about a player, and you look at their schedule and you say, oh, if they were in this conference, they'd be shut down or whatever. But you can only play that game so much with a player like Ted McMillan, or a player that just plays, in a different conference than you would like to see. Because, I mean, what are you going to do? Ignore, what's going on? The team struggled big time. But he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 100-yard games. He had like you said, the 304 and 4 TDs on August 31st. Unbelievable game. That 11 catch for 38 yards was a great game on September 13. The 10 catches for 202 yards and 1 touchdown. He's had more than one big game. I think it just comes down to, where's he go? If he goes to the Titans, then I don't love Ted McMillan as much as I did. If he goes to, I don't know, like if he goes to Dallas, I'm not as intrigued. I think he's great for the Cowboys. It's a great pick for the Cowboys, but it's not good for fantasy because CeeDee Lamb's there. If he went to maybe, like, I'm trying to think of a location that makes sense draft capital-wise, because he's going to go in the top 10, top 12. I don't know. It's tough to say where his best landing spot would be. There's definitely some spots where I think Egbuka could, outperform him, sure. But I think you're a little bit too down on him. He's a good player.
Do you think Egbuka could possibly get taken before him?
He could. The combine, the workouts, all that stuff could definitely change the game a little bit. But I don't know why people are down on Ted McMillan. I mean, it seems like there's a movement going on. I don't know if somebody's spreading rumors about his game style of play, or he's a good player. He's got a good set of hands. He's competitive as can be. Like I said, 6'5". I mean, he's a huge guy. I think there's a chance, a small chance, that he could disappoint, but it would be situationally driven if he did. I think there's still so much raw talent there. If he goes to a good spot, not a great spot, he'll be probably pretty damn good. Now, do I think he's the next CeeDee Lamb? I don't know. I don't think so. Do I think he's the next T. Higgins? I think he definitely could be that good. And then you hope for more, but this class doesn't have wide receivers, honestly, and I think Egbuka could become that, but that are getting evaluated and ranked like BT and Nabers, and we as we always say, we're pretty spoiled with that draft class. I don't think Ted McMillan's top 5, but could he be top 7 to 10 someday? Sure. I like him a lot. But situation.
Appreciate the in-depth analysis, man.
All right, man.
Great time, man.
All right, later, bro. Travis, you're live.
Hey, I think the obvious comparison we always talk about is like Evans and London, just because of the body type and stuff for McMillan. But with Egbuka, how would you like him in a place like Denver? Or do you think like Mims and Sutton are going to get too much work there?
I think that could be good. Yeah, Egbuka in Denver could be good. I don't know. Like, I don't know that. I think the Jaguars are a threat to take one of the two. So if the Jaguars take Ted McMillan, then I can't like Ted McMillan as much as I wanted to because BT's there. And it's not like it hurts BT tremendously, but it's certainly not what you want. You know, nobody wants the number one ranked wide receiver, you know, landing next to BT. I'm not saying BT won't, you know, have his way with him, but this is still something that you don't want.
Well, right, because, I mean, you never know either. Like Trevor Lawrence could, you know, for whatever reason, lock on to McMillan, and that could be his guy. Even that could just knock BT down a couple points, you know. There's so many things that can happen that where they can't hit their perfect ceiling in fantasy if you have two studs there like that. It's always better to kind of, like with Dallas, like when they had Brandon Cooks, like that was kind of perfect because it was a good receiver that kept the offense moving but didn't really take away from CeeDee Lamb all that much. That's kind of like an ideal situation in my eyes where, you know, I guess when you have a Puka, if they're just getting everything to him, but, you know, at some point, teams are going to figure out how to defend it, or, you know, it could be a little inconsistent eventually. Whereas if you have like a decent wide receiver too, not taking all the targets away, that can be better for the offense.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, people need to stop sleeping on Travis Hunter as a wide receiver. And I know they're sleeping on him because he's going in like round 10, 11, 12 on underdog, whereas Ted McMillan's going in round 4. And I'm not saying I don't like the round 4 Ted McMillan value. I think that he could earn that. But Travis Hunter going at 11, 12 because everybody's being fed, I think, bad information about whether he's going to play offense. I mean, this is the most talented overall player maybe in the entire draft outside of Genty to me, Travis Hunter. So, and I think people are very quick to forget how good he is. And if you go back and watch some Colorado film, pull up some footage on YouTube and watch Shedeur, pull up Shedeur Sanders highlights. And you'll see that Shedeur Sanders highlights are almost always tied to Travis Hunter making some remarkable catch in the end zone. He is the real deal. He is one of the most talented players in the college football game, I think, to come out of college in the last like 5 years from an overall talent perspective. And I'm going to scoop up Hunter at 10, 11 ADP all day long on Underdog. Promo code Smitty. Link is in the live chat. Let me pin that link in the live chat right now. But if you guys want to draft on Underdog and take advantage of some of these values before they change, like Breece Hall around 3, Bucky at the 2-3 turn, Travis Hunter around 12, around 11. I'll pin that link. Make sure you hit this link and play Underdog because Travis Hunter's a steal. When I go light wide receiver shopping in a draft and I go robust RB, I take Josh Allen or JD5 early, and I'm hunting for a wide receiver 4, and I'm going really late. I love drafting Travis Hunter and Whittington and Yoshi Voss and just compiling about 3 or 4 of those guys as my wide receivers 4, 5, 6, and then double down on RBs and make sure my quarterback room's on point. I'll even bully quarterback and go Mahomes and JD5 or Josh Allen and Mahomes, knowing that I can get Travis Hunter later instead of taking another player at that Mahomes pick in round 6 because Mahomes is a steal. Mahomes will be on the Marsman or Moonman list or something this year because he's a 6th, 7th round pick. It's ridiculous. They hate him so bad that they just let him. Mahomes can win you a league in round 7. I don't care if he didn't do anything for 2 years in your mind. Understand that Mahomes has one of the best wide receiver rooms in the National Football League. And they're just getting going.
I don't think a lot of people understand that part.
I don't think they do.
He does have a really good wide receiver room. Like, I think people just kind of fail to put it together because Worthy was a rookie and didn't kind of come on until the second half, and Rice was suspended. And then since Mahomes, I think he finished as like the QB, what was it, like the QB 10 or 14? I forget what he was this year, but you know, he's been down the past 2 years from what he normally is. I feel like people just write it off. You know,
so was Brady. Brady had some bad years. People are wild, man. Brady had some bad years too. Everybody has bad years, and from a statistical standpoint, it's crazy to me. Thank you for the super chat, BBQ. Who do I like as a day 2 guy? Scattaboo would be a nice little surprise. Trevion Henderson, Dylan Sampson, Matthew Golden. He could go in round 1 though. Who knows how these wide receivers fall? I think there's at least 4 wide receivers that go in round 1. Egbuka and Burden with Hunter and McMillan. But Matthew Golden could be good later. Trey Harris could be good later. Jackson Dart could be good later. Quarterback. Scattaboo would be my pick, though. I'd say Scattaboo, Trevion Henderson, or Dylan Sampson would be my day 2. And we don't even really know where their ADPs are looking and where their likelihood to get snagged, because the combine and pro days are going to manipulate a lot of it. Matto says Hunter is elite. He will get offensive reps, but it would be interesting to see what the teams think. I'll tell you right now, Matto, it doesn't matter what the teams think, because he's got to tell them what he wants to do. And I know he can't just go to a team and be like, I'm going to play quarterback. And they go, yeah, whatever you want, we're drafting you. But at the same time, he's going to let you know up front that he's playing wide receiver. And if you think you're going to play him at some 20%, 30% capacity, he's going to tell you don't draft me. And I think you might hear some bold stuff come out of the interview reports when he does have these interviews, because he may just be bold with people and say, hey, I want you to know that you may not want what I want. What I want is to play both sides of the ball. Okay, well, what are you thinking? Like, what, 50%, 50-50? No, I want to play like I did in college. Does that make sense to you, Steve? Why would he not? Why? Like, when everybody's trying to pretend what he's going to be in the pros, why would it be any different than what he did in college? If he was a standout wide receiver and his proclivity was to go toward that end of his game and play wide receiver as much as he did, to the point where he was a superstar, what makes anybody think that him going to the pro level is going to change his desire to play the wide receiver position, to have the ball in his hands, to be the playmaker? He's one of the best playmakers in the draft. You want the ball in his hands as much as possible. You're not playing him at 20 or 30% wide receiver. I honestly think that if it's up to him, it's 100% both sides. I'm not saying he'll do it or stay healthy that long doing it. I'm just laughing at people that think that they already know he's playing. The comments like, Smitty's making a good decision to play DB. He hasn't made that decision. He hasn't made. People are so wild. I don't know where they're hearing it. This garbage. Tebow from Cali, then back over to Travis. Go ahead, Tebow.
What's going on, Smitty? I'm actually calling you from the road today. But I just wanted to call in and say I totally agree with you on the Travis Hunter take. I'm scooping him up pretty much in every best ball draft I can get to. And to me, I almost don't care. If he ends up, you get a lot of zeros when you do best ball drafting, and it doesn't matter at the end of the day with some of those players. I think, to me, I'm willing to take that chance, especially in early best ball drafts, because I think that's what it's all about. Is you got to be willing to take that risk on a player who has a high ceiling floor. And from what I've been reading and seeing, man, the comp that they're giving to Hunter is CeeDee Lamb. Why wouldn't you want to take that?
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with the comp itself, but the value of that comp, he definitely could become that. I think it's so wild that people think he's not playing wide receiver already. They just go. If anybody's confused about Travis Hunter's love for the wide receiver position or his ability to dominate at it, go back in YouTube Shedeur Sanders highlights. Shedeur Sanders highlights. Go YouTube that and just watch Shedeur, and you'll see Travis Hunter on almost every single play, catching a touchdown, taking a 15-yard pass and breaking off to the outside and running down the sideline 50 yards untouched. Go watch him toe tap, grab the ball in a jump ball situation. The ball's thrown behind him and he spins around, grabs it and flops around, catches a touchdown. It is constant. And if anybody thinks that and I'm not saying I know myself, but the problem is no one knows. But all I do know is that if you go back and watch everything about this kid, he's all about the wide receiver position. He loves playing both sides of the ball. And I think he will play both sides of the ball. To what degree, I don't know. But if anybody thinks he's going on some light wide receiver duty, I think you gotta listen to the kid talk about what he thinks about himself as a wide receiver and how excited he is to play at the NFL level. And he doesn't say things like, "Oh, I can't wait to be a defensive back." He's talking about playmaking, getting in the end zone, having the ball in his hands. He's going to go to on these interviews during the combine here and say, "Look, if you draft me, I want you to give me a shot to play both sides of the ball. I don't want you to stereotype me into this role or that role or hold me in place here and think it's best for me. I want to prove to you I can play both sides of the ball, but I don't want to be restricted, and I want to do what I feel I'm comfortable doing. And if you think I'm not a good enough defensive back, then so be it. If you think I'm not a good enough wide receiver, then so be it." But if he's an electric player on both sides of the ball, I think the last thing in the world he wants to do is play the way everyone else wants him to play. And I look at it like this. I'm not saying people are lazy. I'm not saying previous players that could have played both sides of the ball are lazy. I get it's a rough game. I understand that. But it's not like you're playing running back where you're abusing your body the same way as a wide receiver. This is something I would have loved to do. And I don't think he gets enough credit for what he accomplished and already did. And people are acting like he can't replicate it at the pro level just because another person didn't do it. And then you got other people that could have potentially played both sides that are critical of it because why? Because they're admitting that maybe they could have did it if they maybe put more effort into it. And so of course they're going to act like you can't do it, because if they were told that, well, why didn't you do it? Their answer is going to be, it's harder than it looks. He won't make it. Okay, well, everyone said he wouldn't make it playing both sides of the ball at the college level, and he did just that and wiggled his way right into the 1.1 overall consideration. So chew on that.
I totally agree, man. No, hey, really quick, I've been looking at the mocks, that have been coming out, and Daniel Jeremiah, I kind of stay glued to him because he seems to be kind of on point, and his 2.0 mock has Gianti falling all the way to the Steelers. What's your take on that? I don't think he falls all the way there, but if he did, is Gianti
maybe you should stop.
If he was a Steeler,
I would probably stop watching Jeremiah then. I mean, I don't know why you're following somebody that thinks Genti's falling down to what pick?
21st.
Yeah, so
Like
you got your answer.
I don't believe it, but I've seen crazier things happen in drafts too.
No, that's ridiculous. All right, man. Appreciate you.
Right on, brother.
All right, Travis, go ahead.
Someone will trade up to get Genty before then with the way he can help the offense. But with Travis Hunter, it's funny because it's almost like people have switched the narrative in their minds to he just played wide receiver because he's really good, really athletic. So as a cornerback, you're just able to flip over and do that. They act like he hasn't worked hard on his craft as a wide receiver as well. And
I don't know what people are thinking.
My question though is in redraft, dynasty, love him. And if it's landing spot and stuff, it's a little bit of a question, but I like him as long as he's wide receiver. Best ball is obvious in that spot, but in redraft, how do you view him in redraft? Where are you taking him in redraft leagues? How many? And to play devil's advocate, do you worry that he could be a 40 to 50 catch guy instead of a 60, 70 catch guy, which would affect redraft value?
I don't know what he's going to be, to be honest. I just know that when I'm looking at, I'm going to move all these guys off this board. Ignore these. This is for a draft pick trading video. So I guess, let me get rid of these so it's not confusing. You look at, where was I at with McMillan? So you're looking at Ted McMillan going in round number 4. You're looking at Mbuka. You know, his ADP is kind of moving around all over the place. But let's keep this between Hunter and McMillan. When Hunter's going not even in this top 8, he's in round number 10, 11, 12. It's worth every bit of risk. It's all 1,000% baked in. I don't know what the answer is right now. I don't know if he'll be divided up 50-50. I mean, he could, but the fact that people act like they have an answer right now is what bothers me. I'm not saying that we won't have news break that says that the team that drafted him is going to circumvent his wishes and go, we're going to play him 50% wide receiver, 70% DB. It's possible, but if it's up to him, he's playing 100% receiver. And that's the way he approached it in college. He's not just going to enter the pro game and be like, yeah, what I did in college I can't do. He's going to say, I can do it, watch me. So I take him anywhere in the 9, 10, 11, 12 range every time. I mean, there's almost no risk at all. But McMillan in the 4th, there's risk. I like it, but I don't take it in every draft. I'd take him in round 11 or 10 in almost every single draft right now without any sort of worry, because if I land it, I win. Every one of those teams that has Travis Hunter in round 11 has a shot at, if I have like 70 drafts that have him there, all 70 of those teams have an advantage other people don't have. Here, if you did that in 70 drafts, if he doesn't land, you're done in those drafts. Big difference. Absolute steal. Travis Hunter is a steal in redraft. Free. He's free.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to specify and just kind of check if you felt the same way in redraft too, because I know people talk a lot of best ball and dynasty this time of year. So
yep, redraft. He's a steal. Best ball. He's a steal. Almost zero risk. Anything else, Travis? I'm probably going to call this here at an hour of the show tonight, and then hopefully I'll be back. I can't guarantee it tonight because everybody's sick in the house, but I'll try my best. But anything else, Travis?
No, I don't think so. I'll talk to you tonight if you're on. If not, tomorrow. I
appreciate you. All right, guys. That's the show. I mean, we had a lot to talk about. There's a lot of news pieces here, but in a nutshell, Aaron Rodgers likes the Rams, and he wants to take Adams with him wherever he goes, it sounds like. And I don't think he'd speak on that if he didn't feel, if they didn't have a conversation, Jamar Chase going to get inked really quickly, according to, everybody that matters talking about this thing over in Cincy. That Higgins is a real strong bet to get his contract sooner than later as well. Both of them probably staying put in Cincy. Well, we know Chase is, but they're going to be together in Cincy. I don't think T. Higgins leaves. And Jamar Chase should get his deal really, really soon. Appreciate you. Thank you, BBQ, for the super chat. Thank you all who have dropped anything in the chat lately. I know we're a little slow right now, but these are the diehards that are here every day in February. In the middle of March, when we get to this, new calendar league year, right, what is it, March 14? It's gonna get popping again. It's gonna get popping. We'll go live when big news breaks. We'll have some sort of, I'm sure we'll have some sort of big, huge, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Aaron Rodgers, Stafford, Fields news, like one thing after the other in March. It'll be great. So get ready, buckle up. It's going to be wild up in here. Appreciate every single one of you. Thanks again for yesterday's super chat, BBQ. Again, I put it on here to remind me as well.